From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin energy. The vitamins.
Energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, style points. How imperative is it for Florida State to look awesome and not just simply win tonight against Boston College? The U! Are they back? Clemson, are they done? Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Promo code Warchant BOGO, Warchant BOGO. Buy one, get one free, including all these new delicious flavors. I'm going to keep talking about this blueberry flavor, the blue raspberry flavor. It is delicious. And it boosts my immune system. And it gives me 260 milligrams of all natural caffeine and no sugar in there, so no sugar crash. Kill it in the gym. Crush life in every aspect possible when you take Vitamin Energy. Go to vitaminenergy.com, promo code WarChampBOGO. Buy one, get one free. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. FSU 1 gets you 2 months of access to Warchant.com for $1 American. Cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. Also cannot imagine a more apropos time to get back together than Labor Day, with the return, triumphantly, of our new globe-trotting friend, Corey Clark, everybody.
Hey,
What's up, Corey?
Hey, everybody. Hey, I'm doing well, Aslan. How are you doing?
Dude, good, man. I mean, we're on a limited time budget today because we got a game to go cover and such, but I don't know. Just can you give me a 30-second tease, and maybe we can talk about it towards the end of the show, but just what's it feel like now to have that passport stamp to be able to know that planes are indeed a safe mode of transportation for humans these days?
I think the next step is to be able to take a plane where I'm not allowed to lay down.
Okay.
That helped a lot.
Oh, boy.
If I can get to that, where I'm just flying to Chicago or Dallas in a normal seat that I didn't pay thousands of dollars for, or you know what I mean, like,
Right.
I got for a wedding present. Like, that's when I'll know I'm back on the plane route. Until then, it's still dicey. But we did make it home. It's good to know that I can do it, and hopefully I'll be doing it more.
Steph sent a photo. I don't know if she tweeted out or texted it to Ira and I, but it looked like you were not standing, you were seated up on the way back. And I'm like, oh, look at that. Like you weren't 180-degree horizontal. Like you were seated up in a chair, it seemed like.
Yeah, they make you sit up for the takeoff and the landing.
Oh,
which I'm like, why do I got to sit up for the landing? Just nudge me, man.
Right.
Or when we land, I'll be nudged awake. I don't need to sit up for that. But yeah, about 20 minutes out, they made me sit back up.
Unbelievable. All right, well, we got a football game tonight, everybody. Monday shows usually post-mortem, usually celebrating victories.
We don't usually do shows on game day. I don't know that we've ever done one of these before.
Yeah, I mean, they played on a Labor Day Monday before like that. Wasn't that Notre Dame game in 21 a Monday, or was that Sunday?
Yeah, I'm saying that might have been a Sunday, could have been a Monday. I think it was a Monday, actually. But I also don't remember doing a show that Sunday.
Yeah.
We're making history. I think we might be making Wake Up Warchant history here.
All right, I'm glad to do it right out the gates with your triumphant return to the North American continent, man. That's great. So 7:30 ESPN against Boston College, and we can obviously get your thoughts on the matchup and how things look on that, Corey, because you wrote some stuff up on the website here the last few days. Bill O'Brien talking about the matchup against the Noles, but just this first weekend, everybody's now played a game pretty much in the country except for Boston College, it seems like. And I don't know, just being a little bit, just watching all these other teams play, going into the, if you would have asked me on Friday, I'd be like, man, I don't care what happens between Florida State and Boston College. You just need to get out of that game with a win. Win your home opener, get a win in conference. You got a bye week coming up. It doesn't matter how you necessarily look, just get the win. But after seeing everybody else around the country and the way they looked, and Travis Hunter's out here catching 3 touchdowns, and Jeremiah Smith's out there catching 2 touchdowns, and KJ Bolden actually looks he's gonna be a pretty good football player, and Cam Ward guy looks like he's pretty decent. I don't know. I'm at a place now where I feel like Florida State kind of needs to get some style points, not to impress maybe the country by large, but maybe just to get everybody else revitalized and re-energized after seeing everybody else around the country that they're competing with look kind of good. Where are you at right now with expectations and what needs to be executed later tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of where this sport is, and there's a lot of ugliness in where this sport is, in my opinion, but the beauty of it is style points don't matter anymore. That's not a thing that we should really even care about, except for, and they don't, like a win is a win. Like you get out of there 31-30, okay, you're going to be disappointed again, kind of, but at least you got a dub. But where it matters is, okay, you are watching teams from around the country in this first week, and you will continue to watch teams that kind of that play well. Like, just go play well. Like, that can't happen. And that's where I think whether we want to call it style points or just looking good, that's what this team needs to do. Like, a win is the most important thing. If you can win, like I said, 15-14, wins are the most important things. That's all that matters in December, is how many wins you've stacked up. But at the same time, when you're starting a season and you're so uncertain about how good you are right now, because you are, everybody listening to this show, probably many of the guys in that locker room, the coaching staff, they don't know how good they are, if they're good. Like, that was such a, it was such a, I don't want to say disappointing, because, again, I think Georgia Tech is pretty good, but it was an eye-opening game in Ireland. Like, okay, we've got some work to do. This isn't, we're not as good as we probably thought we are. Well, if they can come out tonight and struggle, God forbid lose, but if they struggle and don't play well, well, then you start to wonder, okay, are we any good? I mean, that's a natural thing for a player to ask, right? Like, Are we any good if we're losing to Georgia Tech and we're barely beating Boston College? So I feel like a good performance, a multiple touchdown win, would just do a lot for the confidence in a locker room, because, as I've said a million times on this show, confidence is almost more important than anything when it comes to athletics, in life, really. Talent's number one, but being confident. And if you struggle again, like, I'm really interested in how they come out tonight. Obviously, it's a 4-quarter game, but how they come out in that first quarter, and did they look skittish or do they look mad? And I feel like we'll know that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I wish I would have kind of asked Ira this when he was filling in the other day, but I remember.
I'll be honest, I didn't listen to any of those shows while I was on my honeymoon. How did he do? How did the big guy do filling in?
Highly rated shows, by the way, Corey. Just saying, highly rated. Watch out.
Oh no.
Watch out.
Oh boy.
There was something in there that he mentioned that if things don't come out the gates and stabilize and get a little bit better, because I think throughout the preseason, Ira's thing was, let them get through this first 4-week kind of stretch, like the first month of the season, because Ira's whole thing was he just thought they were going to be really good once, or not, I shouldn't say really good, but they were going to get progressively better as the season went on. That's the goal for most teams. But he just felt like, October, November, we'll really see just how talented this team is, and it'll start kind of coming up to the surface. But I wonder if, if that's still the case for Ira and a lot of people that are listening to the show, because I feel like, man, like they've got to get better here in a hurry, because I don't know how much sort of patience is going to be like, well, if you make incremental growth against Boston College, come out the bye week, and then you got Memphis, maybe look a little bit better. It feels like you got to have to hurry things up. And you might be at a point where if things don't get significantly better, significantly fast, then you start wondering about this sort of lurch you made to go into the portal and grab all these guys. Jeff, I guess, was a guy earlier on in the maybe, after the aftermath of last year, Corey, that kind of thought, just kind of use 24 as a bit of a retooling, rebuild season and come back and reload for 25. But the staff didn't do that. That the staff went and got pretty much everybody they could out of the portal to fix all these gaps. Well, if that doesn't end up working out, if you can't get into the playoff and you have a fairly sizable payroll, where does that leave you going into the future? But that's probably looking too far ahead down the road, it feels like.
Yeah, I don't think that's a discussion for now. I mean, they need to play well. And again, it was, I talked to people at Corner Pocket over the weekend, and people are rightly concerned about what they saw, and I get it. But also, I keep preaching this. It was 7 drives. It was 7 possessions, both offense and defense. And as I pointed out, if you'd have judged this team after their first 6 or 7 drives against LSU last year, you'd been like, oh, all right, not great. And then they scored 4 straight touchdowns to end it. Now, I'm not predicting that Florida State's going to score 4 straight touchdowns to open this game. That'd be great if they did. But I'm not so worried about the playoff right now. Like, look, man, what you got to look at is, I know it's one game. Miami and Notre Dame, those are tough. But they probably had the 2 best wins in the country on opening weekend. Well, other than Georgia, Clemson, again, I know they got throttled by Georgia. Who wouldn't? Clemson will be an issue. Like this schedule, the way Miami and Notre Dame looked specifically is like, oh boy, like this is going to be a bear. Like you got to win 1 before you can win 10. And that starts tonight. Like you've got to get in the win column against a very beatable team. and then Memphis is beatable, and Cal is beatable. Your goal obviously is to be 3-1 after 4 games because that's the best you can be now because you lost that one. But also, like you said, to gain some momentum, to feel good about where this program is, because if you start stubbing your toe in this first month with those games, Miami and Notre Dame and Clemson looming, well, then you're kind of like, all right, is this going to be a season that you're fighting for bowl eligibility? Is it going to be one of these seasons again? That's why I think this next 3 games, starting tonight, are pivotal.
Yeah.
Again, because if you just win this is not a coin flip game. I talk about that a lot. This is not one of those. You're favored by 16 or 17 points. You are better than Boston College. You have more talent than Boston College. They do have a dynamic running quarterback, but you're supposed to have a dynamic team. So he's going to make some plays, sure, but you should be better than them. This is not an offense that returns as much as Georgia Tech did. And Georgia Tech looked good on Saturday night, by the way, which was good to see that wasn't just a fluky performance. So I think before we start thinking about playoffs and getting back in the playoff picture, get your first ACC dub. And it would be great if you look good doing it. Just get one, but it would be great if your defense could stop the run, if it didn't get pushed around, if the linebackers play better, and then if your offense can establish any sort of identity, because there certainly wasn't anything established in Ireland.
What's like the 30,000-foot view then of the game tonight against Boston College? Obviously, Castellanos is going to be an issue, but this is a team that has not played a single game. Florida State's had that luxury of a week 0 game in years past. We saw, what they were able to do against Duquesne and then carry that in and take out LSU in 22. So that feels like another advantage that's obviously in their favor. But it seems like there might be some of the parallels that Georgia Tech gave you problems with. The offensive line, at least on one side, has a plethora of continuity and veteran leadership. They brought in a guy that was all-conference from Virginia on the offensive line. Think he's banged up. Think Kevin Stone from the New England Football Journal that was on Warchant Report with Matt Lucero saying he's probably not going to play. But they're going to be able to. They're going to want to be able to run the ball. I mean, that's not going to be different from most teams that they play. But Trayshawn Ward's there, Castellanos. They've got some speed out wide. They've got a big body, like a 6'4", 6'5" target out wide. Do you see parallels that give you concern and pause from what Georgia Tech had, or do you think this is kind of a different ball game and there's a sizable advantages for Florida State across the board on both sides of the ball?
No, man. Well, number one, last year it gives you pause in how you played against this team and this kid at quarterback, and then also the fact that we have no idea what this run defense is. We have no idea what this defense is in general. We think it's going to be good or pretty good, but it wasn't in its first game, and so until I see that, I'm going to have concern about it really literally with everybody they play. This kid is a weapon. He's fresh. He has not been hit in, 9 months? So he is going to be tough to stop, and he's going to run. That is going to be a part of their game plan, is to run him a lot. And I don't know how. It's hard to defend. It's not like you can spy somebody with a similar – you can't spy him with a similar athlete because you don't have a similar athlete on defense that plays linebacker that can hang with somebody like him. He's tough, man. He's tough, and he's going to make plays. Again, my concern obviously is everything with the defense right now. I think what you worry about is because you're so worried about his running ability that you sell out – and you have bad eyes, as they say, and then you give up something big with his arm. And you give him some confidence throwing the ball. He is not a great passer of the football. At least he hasn't proven to be. But if you give him wide open layups, there's 300 kids in this country that can make some of these throws if they're wide open. So you don't want to give him that. You want to have him make contested throws like Haynes King did. I mean, look, you gave Haynes King some easy throws, like that third down when it was 21-21. But he also made some great throws where it's like, okay, that's just a quarterback making a play. If you get beat on those plays, it's like, well, darn it. But that's a lot more. That's a lot more understandable than just giving up wide open passes. And that's what I fear when it comes to this. It's misdirection. It's tight ends out in the flat because you're so worried about the way this kid can run that you're going to get beat with misdirection and nakeds and bootlegs and all that stuff coming around the other side. That said, your offense should move the ball on them a lot. And if it doesn't, that's where I think the main concern is. And look, I don't think either one of those sides of the ball were good in Dublin. The offense bothered me more than the defense because the defense at least had the excuse of going up against a good offense. I don't think this offense did. And so I want to see some explosive plays. Obviously, Norvell wants that. I just want to see some continuity and consistency. And I also want to see some urgency. Don't have 9-minute drives. Go score some points quickly because O'Brien and Boston College are going to be running the play clock all the way. It's going to be another short possession, minimal possession game, and you're going to have to try to speed up and get as many plays as possible. So don't play into their hands by limiting your number of plays and possessions. So that's get off the field on third down, be great. All those things, you're going to get a dub.
I think 10 drives is what Georgia State had against Georgia Tech. There's 20 total drives in that game versus the 14.
Right.
So, yeah, get off the field.
Also, maybe a turnover or two would be nice. That create some stuff. But yeah, get off the field and strike quicker. Like do so. I don't know. I guess their first drive was a pretty quick drive. The touchdown
beautiful.
To start the game
My
was
gosh.
great.
That was circa 19 Boise State with Kendall Browser. Like, man, we're back. Like, when it came on that first drive, like, oh boy, how dare I even doubt that Florida State would take a step back under Mike Norvell, and then 58 more minutes of it was like, eh.
Yeah.
But all right, 16.5. We're you made your score prediction. I think, did you have them covering? I don't recall. My math is terrible.
I did not. I think I had them winning like 30-20, something like that. I think that's going to be the score I predict for every game.
Okay.
I think that's a 30-20 somewhere in that neighborhood.
All right. They do return their top receiver in Lewis Bond. They also have Dino Tomlin, son of Mike Tomlin, coming back. He had like over 20 catches. They brought in a 6'5" target from Texas Tech and Jaron Bradley. And how about this? Kamari Morales went to a Lincoln. They have his hometown listed, Corey, as Buck Lake, Florida. I didn't realize Buck Lake had broken off from Tallahassee and gotten incorporated. But shout out to Buck
that's
Lake.
cool, man. Good for him. All right, that's in my neck of the woods.
Yes,
we might have been neighbors.
There will be a live meet, obviously live meet and greet. We can't tape a meet and greet, but there's going to be a 1 o'clock pregame show with Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang. And then they'll be up at Hotel Indigo in College Town at 4 o'clock for a little bit of a meet and greet. So come out there. Hopefully you were able to see Jeff and Corey last night at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill for that happy hour-ish meet and greet that we had. So, and then there'll be a post-game show, Warchant wrap as well. We got you covered, as always, when it comes to Florida State football. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. You should have been there last night. Should have been there. Going to have Corey Clark and Jeff Cameron and watch LSU and Southern Cal, but you chose not to. It's okay. They're open every single day of the week. Monday through Friday, they have lunch specials from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., but they also got that happy hour going every single flipping day and all day on Sunday. You can't go wrong with pretty much anything at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, whether it's food, beverages, or diversions. Darts, billiards, trivia, bingo. Who loves you more than Bill does over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill? Big-time Nole fan, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Today's lunch special, obviously it's Monday. Go get a half-pound Black Angus beef burger from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for only $8.99 with a side dish of your choice. And then tomorrow, Taco Tuesday, all day Tuesday, tacos, everybody. Hard, soft shell beef or chicken, and trivia at 7 o'clock. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill in Tallahassee, Florida, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. So I was watching college football final on ESPN, Corey. Sorry, everybody. Sorry I keep watching ESPN. Trying to stop it.
Is Lou Holtz and Mark May still on that? They still wearing the robes?
Oh man, I can't believe that was a thing. That was a thing.
That's crazy.
Man.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Now it's Matt Berry, Joey Galloway, and Dan Mullen. And Matt Berry tweeted out that the former Florida coach had taken that team, that program, to New Year's Six bowls and won 10 games and beat Georgia. And got fired in 3 seasons. Meanwhile, Billy Napier's still out there doing the thing. But on that, and then Dan Mullen retweeted it, actually, which was kind of funny. But towards the end of that show, they were saying who had the most impressive win in week 1, and Mullen said he thought it was Miami. Galloway, said someone else, I forgot who, but then Matt Berry was the judge jury on that one. It was like, yeah, no, it was Miami because I guess, there was some optimism around that program coming to the season, but they played quite well. But I don't know, Florida looked horrible, so I guess no matter what happens tonight, at least we're not Florida. That might be the rallying cry for the rest of the season. They looked horrendous. I know it's hard to really judge what Miami's going to be, I think, because Florida is so bad, but the one thing that you probably can walk away from that game saying is that quarterback is above average and is probably going to keep them in a lot of football games this year.
Yeah, that was probably not great for Florida State fans to see, considering how your guy looked in the first game. And we can say that that DJ played a tougher team. I don't think that's true on defense.
Right.
I think Georgia Tech I think Georgia Tech's a better team overall, but I'm not convinced that Georgia Tech has a better defense than Florida's. And Cam Ward just ripped them apart, and just looked as comfortable and calm as could be on the road. Like, we'll see how he handles real game pressure because he didn't feel any in that game. But he's also a veteran. I don't know what he count for 5 touchdowns at 300-something yards passing. Like, that's in the swamp.
I think it was just 3. I think he's had the 3 throwing. I don't think he ran
okay,
for 1.
all right. But the last touchdown he had was if he's in the Heisman race, that's the clip they show. That's their Doug Flutie throw. they just show over and over. That was incredible. That was an unbelievable play. We'll see. Again, I'm not sold that beating Florida is any great shakes, but I'm not going to dismiss a 41-10 win in the swamp, or 41-17, whatever it was. That was a throttling. And Florida loses a lot these days. They don't lose like that a lot, not at home. So that was impressive. And if you're a Florida State fan, probably a little scary. You hope that DJ, and I only bring up DJ because, look, that was the back and forth that we heard about in December. Not a back and forth necessarily, but those were the 2 names. And it's like, okay, you didn't get Cam Ward because you thought he was going to the NFL, so you got the next best guy. And then it ends up, okay, Cam Ward's not going back to the NFL. And he looked like that. And meanwhile, your guy looked about half as good as that. So that's a little troubling. But it can all be rectified with a nice game tonight.
Yes.
Not rectified necessarily, but it can certainly be helped with a nice game tonight. Either way, it's 1 year. Each team gets these guys for 1 year, but I would really like to see DJ have a similar type game, man. Like, because I guess I haven't watched enough Cam Ward to realize how he just stands there flat-footed, just like he's looking at cereals in the grocery aisle, like trying to pick out if he wants Raisin Bran or Fruit Loops. It was crazy. And then also, I can promise you this: there will be no late hits out of bounds on Cam Ward this year. I've never seen a quarterback do. Did you watch that?
It was incredible. It was.
He literally was walking. He was walking out of bounds instead of getting an extra 4 or 5 yards, and it didn't hurt him. They came back and they went on to score those 2 drives. But I've never seen a quarterback run like that. He can move, and then when he gets near the line, out of bounds, if you guys go watch some highlights, he literally about 2 yards away. If there's nobody really near him, he gets the first down and then straight up walks out of bounds. Maybe he's setting it up for he's going to look like he's going to do that again against Florida State and then cut it back inside. I don't know, but that was bizarre to see. But yeah, man, he's got a little cockiness to him. He's got a little fire to him, which I wasn't sure he had. And that team, it's amazing what a quarterback can do, or a quarterback performance like that can do. I'm not saying Cam Ward is a Heisman winner or a Jaden Daniels going to be a first-round pick. I don't know. It was 1 game against a bad team, but I can promise you this: that team believes in itself more than it's believed in, I don't know, man, 5, 10, 15, 20 years after that game. Like, Miami hasn't had a win like that in a long time. So they're not back, because what would that entail? But that was a very, very impressive win.
Yeah, just how comfortable.
On both sides of the ball, by the way. It wasn't just Cam Ward. Mertz did nothing.
And that one run is really all Florida had.
That was it.
Yeah.
And that was like a weird break or a weird bust or something. There was nobody even on that side of the ball other than that, where you just gave him a free 70 yards. Mertz, and he's got some weapons, or we thought he did. He did against the SEC last year. Man, they looked awful on offense too, but Miami might have been doing that to him. Miami might be good on both sides of the ball, which would be a problem.
Yeah, well, the frustrating thing for me watching that game was just kind of how at ease he looked, as though that was not his first year playing in that system and with those guys. That seemed like that was a nucleus of talent that had been together for a while, and everybody was on the same page. And it just didn't feel like that for large parts of the game against Georgia Tech last week.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
So,
but it was one game. So again,
was.
we're not gonna rush into the judgment and
No.
making judgments on look. But I'm on record as saying I think Cam Ward is a better quarterback than DJ. I said that in December.
He was prioritized. They wanted him.
Yes,
Florida
correct.
State went after him. DJ specifically wanted to come here and was patient about it and kind of, realized that, all right, man, like I'll wait out and see how this plays out. And then, like, as you said, DJ, or rather Cam's like, I'm going to go pro. And then like, all right, we're going to sign DJ. And then all of a sudden Cam Ward and Miami did whatever they had to do to make him not go pro. So that's where we're at.
But I think obviously I was on record as saying that. I think you were, and I said that even after DJ committed. I said that in the spring. I think Cam Ward is a better college quarterback. I don't think he's that much better than they've looked in their first games of each season. But that's where tonight will be another sign of where we are with this quarterback in this offense. Because I think Cam Ward is a better quarterback. Like I said, I don't think he's that much better that it's like it's going to be. We aren't at the point yet where it was a huge mistake. You know what I mean? And I don't even think you can say it was a mistake because they wanted Cam Ward. Florida State coaches told us who they thought was better. Yeah. And it certainly looked that way in game one. But DJ is a competent, solid, maybe better than solid, good college quarterback who did not look necessarily the part on Saturday. Wasn't horrible. Made some big-time throws late in the game, and that's what I want to see as I want to see more of that, man. I know that's easy to say. Oh, you want to see more 20-yard throws in the middle of the field, Corey? That's revelatory. But I want to see that the urgency they had in that final drive as far as like fourth down, here goes nothing. I got to make this throw. I'd like to see some of that on second down, Mike. You were allowed to throw the ball on second down, buddy. Make it happen.
No, I mean, and again, that goes back to some of the stuff that we talked about, like immediately after that game, where obviously you're frustrated and angry coming off of a loss. But when you think about like the last memory you have of Florida State being on offense in that game, I mean, you converted like a third and long. I feel like 2 fourth down conversions, where like, I mean, just get a stop, Georgia Tech, and you've got that game cinched up. But then DJ made some really impressive throws, and you're like, all right,
in the middle of the field. All of them were in the middle of the field. Portier had one that if he doesn't get tripped up, it's probably a 70-yard touchdown. But they were all in the middle of the field, and that was the first time I felt like they used the middle of the field all game. So you're right. That's something to build on, we hope.
And that's why I felt like, I'm like, if they can just – if Georgia Tech does not score on this last possession, this goes to overtime. Like I just, for some reason, I felt confident. I'm like, I think Florida State would be able to win in overtime if it goes down to that format against Georgia Tech, but obviously didn't get to that level. So do you think the opportunities are going to be there for DJ to have a strong game tonight? Corey, I mean, do you think Boston College is going to try to do the whole Georgia Tech thing where they're going to throw all the resources they can at stopping the run? I mean, they've got some talent up front, guys like Cam Horsley anchoring their front four. They've got some good talent at the linebacker spot. I mean, do you see Boston College, I don't want to say daring DJ to beat them, but making it to where like we're going to try to make them one-dimensional, and we know they want to run the ball. So let's see if this guy in a new system with some question marks for receivers and weapons can beat us tonight.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think that's the right answer. Is like after watching that game again in Dublin, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to sell it to stop the run and see if they can convert third and longs, because my man loves to run on 2nd and 8. And so let's see if they like run it, how he does on 3rd and 5. Because one of the elements of tonight's game that is if they get off to a slow start, well then, look, we know DJ's been through everything. He's played 45 games of college football. But there is a different kind of pressure when you've already lost a game. Your first game is the start of a new program for a team that hadn't lost in 19 games. You're 0-1. And then if you start off slow and you're behind at home and you feel that uneasiness in the crowd about midway through the second quarter, and you've only got 3 points and you just had another 3 and out, how's that pressure manifest itself? That's why you really want a fast start so he can because look, as much of a veteran as he is, that stuff he's only human. And you do start feeling a little more pressure when you don't get off to a good start. So hopefully he gets off to a really good start. But, yes, I don't think Boston College is going to be like, okay, like Georgia Tech was on that first drive. Like, all right, if you want to run, we won't make any adjustments until Toafili's handing the ball to the referee. I think they come out and try to play like Georgia Tech did the rest of the game. Load in the box, 7 or 8, run blitzing on the edges, trying to make sure that DJ keeps it occasionally, because you're just going to sell out on the read for the running back, and just trying to make a big tackles for loss, like try to make tackles for loss in the backfield, get in the backfield, fire into the backfield. That leaves you susceptible to big plays over the top. It just does. It leads you to susceptible to making a throw to a guy 8 yards away, and if he can just make one guy miss, because you're at Florida State, you're supposed to be special, right? You're supposed to be one of the best athletes in the country if you're playing wide receiver at Florida State. Well, go make a guy miss, and then a first down turns into a touchdown because they got so many defenders near the line of scrimmage. That's the downside to playing defense like that. But Florida State, for the most part, couldn't take advantage against Georgia Tech. You got to imagine. I don't know enough about Boston College's defense, but you got to imagine, not that Georgia Tech is the Baltimore Ravens, but you got to imagine they don't have the athletes that even Georgia Tech had on defense. And you should be able to win those. You should be able to win the matchups outside. You almost have to. If you can't, there's not a lot of hope for the rest of the season if you can't win the outside matchups against this defense.
Yeah, I mean, this comes back to kind of the beginning of the show where I just feel like, this is the only game on tonight. There's nobody else that's sharing the spotlight with you. You had that same kind of exclusivity on Saturday in Dublin. And I know, and I agree with you, man, like, worry about the playoff when that's like a real, part of the equation of the season. But like, it's going to be crucial to have like a really good freaking game, man. Like they've got to go out there, prove to themselves. I think they also got to show to the country too, because the way that Miami looked, and we'll talk about Clemson here in a second too. I just think that there's a threat of falling out of the narrative of being the best team in this conference. And if you're the only game on, like, this is a great opportunity to make people forget about what happened in Dublin, show them that you are this wizard almost of calling plays and dialing things up. And this defense that does have first-round picks that we assume on the back end and on the defensive line, like, they can play up to their potential because, if you cannot put it all together against an opponent like this in a situation where everything's kind of in your favor, then, like, where do you go from here? Like, I know you'll get better a little bit week to week, but I don't know how much significantly better you'll be able to get. So
it'd also be nice just for this fan base, man. Like,
yes.
You think about where this fan base has been. They were 10-0 playing a horrible FCS team, had a horrible start, and then their quarterback gruesomely broke his leg. And since then, it's kind of been a lot of bad news. Like, it was awesome that Tate went and won at Florida. They didn't look great, and then Tate got hurt. And then they went and won at Louisville and showed all that moxie and whatever you want to call it. The defense was absolutely dominant. It should have been a great night. It was a great night, and it was completely spoiled the next afternoon. It was completely spoiled. And this fan base hasn't – and then obviously the Orange Bowl, and then your first game this season. Like, this fan base needs to feel good about this program again. I think they do overall. Remind them why. Mm-hmm. Remind them why you're on the up and up. Remind them why that you're still climbing. Like, we knew it wasn't going to be as good a season as last year, and that's already out the window. They've already, after one game. But this doesn't need to be a leap backwards. It can be a little step as backwards as you're gaining momentum to start running forward. Do something like that, man, because if you struggle in this game again on Monday night, well then this fan base is rightly going to be concerned. So don't. Yeah. Don't struggle.
Don't, guys.
Play well.
Don't do it.
I know you guys are all listening. Yeah. This is probably being played in the locker room before the game. It might be being played at Doak 90 minutes before the game instead of the hip-hop music.
I think they're playing in the air tonight in the locker room, and this is playing on top of it right now. So hopefully the do is kicking in right now. Let's go, boys.
Hey, and boys, that's Phil Collins. Yeah. He was the drummer of Genesis back in the 70s and 80s, but I believe that was a solo record for his. And a great one. You're right to enjoy it.
Famous man once said, actually might have been a woman, but that abs are made in the kitchen. So all that working out that we do, Corey and myself, you still got to eat right. And usually that means eating at home, but man, that's so annoying, right? Like all the dishes, having to go to the grocery store, measuring everything out. That's why you should check out HelloFresh. We used to do this a few years ago. Remember everybody, HelloFresh? Go to HelloFresh.com/freewarchant for an offer for 10 free meals, free shipping, and free breakfast for life? ? But this stuff was great. There's literally recipes that they sent me 2-3 years ago that I still use at home, but it doesn't quite hit the same. Some of these spices they use are proprietary, and people on the internet try to match it, but they fall short of the glory of HelloFresh. But these meals show up like properly packed in dry ice. Everything is pretty much proportioned out, so like it helps out with the entire measuring. and like utensil usage. Like everything's pretty much ready to go. You just either throw it in the pan, throw it in a bowl, and it lessens the load because like I don't really mind cooking at home. I just hate doing dishes. I found out HelloFresh gave me delicious meals and also lessened the dishwashing aspect component because I don't have anybody to help me out with that stuff. So womp womp for Aslan. Check out HelloFresh. Again, HelloFresh.com/free war chant for an awesome introductory offer. All right, Corey, how do we process what happened in your backyard there at the Mercedes-Benz Dome between number 1 Georgia and whatever 12-14 Clemson? Watching that, I don't want to say I was impressed with Clemson. I was impressed with Georgia.
I hope
Kirby,
not.
Kirby's just a flipping maniac, dude. He's just, I don't even know who to compare Kirby Smart to. But it just seemed like at least that first half, you kind of almost had Florida State, Alabama 2017 vibes where, like, you know, you're hanging in there in the first half. And you're like, all right, man, like we're legitimately one of the best teams maybe in the country. Like we're hanging toe-to-toe with a defending national champ. It's got that kind of pedigree. And then the second half comes in and Dabo's like, that's what Georgia does. Like they expose you. And we got exposed in the second half. I feel like that defensive line, I think the defense for Clemson is going to be a problem for anybody and everybody this season. Offensively, doesn't seem like the Garrett Riley, Cade Klubnik marriage has developed into anything major. But I just still don't know how the same way that maybe we shouldn't put so much stock into Miami because they played a terrible Florida team. Maybe the opposite side spectrum of that is like, maybe don't throw more dirt on Clemson because of how good Georgia is, or should we pile on? Because the national media is giving the business to Dabo here the last 24 hours.
Yeah, and it's understandable because, look, Clemson has a different standard. Like, I'm very confident that Clemson will have a good season. I think they still have a lot of talent on that team. They are not going to blow a lot of people out, but they will win a number of games. And I think in November they will be in contention to get to Charlotte. I believe that with my whole heart. And then if they're in contention to get to Charlotte, they still have they're essentially in the playoff. But their goal isn't to just be one of the best teams in the ACC, man. Not that long ago, they were the best program in the United States of America. Not that long ago. And then you saw the difference in the two programs. The program that is the best one in the country, and then Clemson. And they used to be very even. That is not the case anymore. And it was funny because I was thinking about didn't they open the season at 21?
Yep. And
it was like, what was it, 7-3 or 10-3? And I think Georgia's only touchdown was a pick six off DJ. That was it. And in Clemson
it was 10-3.
It was 10-3. So, but the only touchdown in the game was a pick six.
Correct.
They were evenly matched, talent-wise, in that game. Neither offense was great, but man, did that game kind of ruin DJ for this season. No. And that's what Georgia can do, and that's what you wonder about Cade, because man, it's just dumb to open with Georgia. It's just dumb. Don't do it. There's no need to do it. Why would you do that anymore? In the age of the 12-team playoff, there's no need to ruin the confidence of your quarterback. And he's in a little different scenario than DJ was because everybody was very, very excited about DJ to start the 21 season. They thought he was the next Deshaun Watson. They thought he was the next Trevor Lawrence. They were just going to pick right up where they left off, and then they saw immediately, oh no, what is this? Cade's got a year of kind of question marks surrounding him. And then he comes in and has to play Georgia and looks like that, and the offense does jack squat. And now he's even feeling like, that just can't – he already probably was lacking confidence. He certainly doesn't have the belief of that fan base, probably doesn't have the belief of that locker room. And then they go out and lay an egg offensively on national television in the first game of the year. That can't be good for his development. And you wonder if, can Georgia break him? Because I think Georgia kind of broke DJ for the 2021 season. He rebounded and had a nice 22, but he was awful he was at least average at best in 2021. In 2022, he was better, but man, he was kind of ruined by that opener. And I wonder if the same could be said for the quarterback for Clemson. We'll see, but that was ugly. And again, people want to take shots at Dabo. Dabo's going to have a fine season. They're going to be a top 15 or 20 team, but it's that slow slide, guys. We've been there, right?
Oh, yeah.
People that cover Florida State, people that cheer for Florida State. You've seen what those slow slide looks like, where it's like, okay, we're not as good as we were, but man, we're just a couple plays away from winning 10 games again. Or we won the conference, or we almost won the conference, and we lost in overtime to this team. Man, Clemson was 4-4 last year after 8 games. And then they start out this year looking like they don't belong in the same sport as Georgia. Especially in that second half was just gross on defense and offense. But can you blame the defense?
No.
They know their offense isn't going to score. Why are we going to be out here killing ourselves? This game's over. Once Georgia took a 2-score lead, that game was wraps. It's interesting. Clemson clearly did not look good. I still think, because I don't think the ACC is great by any stretch, I think Florida State and Clemson, as bad as maybe you think both of them looked in the first game, it's still very much on the table that they could meet in Charlotte. One of them will have 2 losses, but they could still – one of them would have to have 2 losses, but they could still meet in Charlotte. I'm not convinced Miami's going to go 8-0 because they beat Florida. But, man, it just seems like Clemson and Georgia, they were even. They were evenly matched 3 years ago. And they have just taken divergent turns since then. And Dabo's going to be Dabo's going to be really he's going to get tired of this, man. He's going to get tired of having to answer about the portal, but he needs to. Georgia took 11. Georgia took 11 transfers. Some of them made plays against his team on Saturday. And he's still going to sit there and say, we don't need to take transfers. And it's like, all right, man, well, you see where the sport is going or has gone. And you're out there getting embarrassed on national TV by a very good program. But also, I will say this. You can't make a lot of judgments on what Georgia does to teams.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's see what Clemson does against a normal team. And then we have a better idea of what they're going to be this year. I still think they can be pretty good because, like Aslan said, that defensive line was a menace in the first half against what I think is a very good offensive. I know is a very good offense and a very good offensive line. They scored 6 points in the first half against Clemson. Even with Clemson's offense just basically being a 3-and-out punting machine, Georgia still only scored 6 points. So that Clemson defense is for real. They might get tired of having to play awesome every week because the offense sucks, and then that might cause some friction, and that might derail the season. But let's wait a little while before we make ultimate judgments on what Clemson can do in the ACC.
Well said, and I guess we'll see ultimately what Florida State can do in the ACC after being at home, licking their wounds for a week, and playing Boston College later tonight. So let's keep our fingers crossed for a big one, showing-wise, so that we can start feeling good about this team again like we did like 2 weeks ago. That'd be great. We'd appreciate that. All right, that's a wrap for us. Again, 1 o'clock pregame show, Jeff and Tom. 4 o'clock meet and greet, Hotel Indigo, Jeff and Tom. Maybe Ira will be there. Maybe Gene will be there. Maybe Ben Spicer will be there. Who knows? Maybe Matt Lasser. Go to warchant.com. Check out our Wake Up Warchant Twitter feed. I'll be tweeting out the over-unders. If you're not a member of warchant.com, you actually can get in on the over-unders and win $10 to Garnet and Gold. The catch is, and it's really not a catch, but in the tiebreaker field, if you're not a member, I need you to do N/M. Put it in the field. I can sort it that way. Then I can tell who the member is, who's not the member. Just do it, or don't do it if you don't want to win $10 at Garnet and Gold. It's fine. Doesn't hurt my feelings. We'll be back with another show tomorrow. Hopefully a post-victory show. It's been a minute since we've done one of those. I like those. Those ones are my favorite. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.